watched the whole meeting again, the last one we did, and I realized there's so much information there. It might take us each 2 or 3 times going through and listening to it ourselves, and we start to see what we actually missed during the meeting itself. So we can get so much more out of it. So it's very valuable.
All right. I'm going to just start with the screen share, and we'll just pick up where we left off, I guess, eh?
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Here we are at Declaration of Agreements meeting number 10. And we've gone through the governance on the last call. And now we are to funding and funding models. And the interesting, I just want to bring something up really quick. The interesting thing is in our folder here where we're working on, I believe it's in the overview.
It's right there. Yeah.
Co-created future here. The interesting thing is we have some funding models we went over on a call here. So I'm going to keep that open in case we do need to reference it. But this is a little different.
So funny. We're so in sync this morning. I opened that document too, thinking that it was the Mike's co-creation tools. I'm like, oh, I'm going to read this right now, and it ended up being that. So I said, I'll leave that open for the meeting.
Okay. All right, you're on track. You get 2 bonus points. Okay, so funding and funding models, including currencies. Okay, so I'll read it since I'm here and it's in front of me. But if anybody does want to read it with me, then I'm more than open to that, because I know that works better in general. When one person talks too long, their voice tends to get drowned out just because it's, you know.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up on my computer now. So as soon as I get it on my computer where I can see it well, yeah, I don't have a problem. I can read a bunch of it to you as well. Okay.
I just woke up, so I'll try to up my energy a little bit here. We have a list of types of funding that will fit our needs. That's right here that we created. Okay, this is things we have for funding. Okay, mainly membership and contribution and get. Okay, membership I'm going to put slash here because and is too many ands. Membership, contribution, and gift / philanthropy. Also, we have traditional routes mapped out. This is best used with real estate projects and or backed business plans or pre-sales. We have landowners waiting for us to organize and donate their land to New Paradigm Causes, I'm just going to call it. It's not to us, it's to the cause. We have, should I mention GSF, of course, right? Nonprofit. What's that? How would you word that, Tiana?
I wouldn't word it as anything. I would say a fundraising project. I've got the fundraising platform for the grant services, and then GSF, if you want to put that. I think that's called more of a project. And we're considering it a nonprofit, yes, of course, but I don't know if I want to label that because it's still in its infancy and being co-created, and it can change. I think as we're moving into, we're starting a new language, and although this is looked upon as a nonprofit, it's really a platform that is a New Paradigm platform and is geared towards benefiting all. whether that means profit for all or nonprofit, I don't care.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Distributed profit. I mean, profit is interesting. Interesting word. Distributed wealth.
Yeah, distributed wealth.
We have fundraising platforms for grants, fundraising events, and distribution channels for distribution channels for wealth. That channels for distributed wealth, I think is gonna be better. Concentrated on systemic change. Okay, what else do we have when it comes to our funding models, and including currencies? We have links to investment bankers, investors, and over 50. Okay.
Can I ask a few questions about things on this first paragraph?
Yes.
Can you briefly for me, because I've heard you talk about this a lot, the membership model. Can you briefly go over what that is? I've never heard it really described.
Yeah, okay. Well, the best way I can do that is, let's look here over here. Well, so a membership model that's going to be mostly pertinent, I would believe. I think it's going to be able to ramp up our tech platform integration, the next level. And for right now, we need to know what we can offer. What are we offering? If we're going to have a membership model, what are they getting in return? So that needs to be figured out. I have some things that I can offer, and then they flow into stuff that we can offer all together. So we need to combine them, because it should all be one big thing, but we need to all be on the same page before that can happen.
So is it, I'm a little still unclear, is the membership a cash membership? Because it says membership /contribution. So are they contributing energy for their, are they contributing for the membership, or are they paying a currency, a fiat or crypto to be a member?
We could have multiple
it's
ways
a
to
funding
do that.
model. It's membership contributionism combined. Builders of the system can pay for or get membership in exchange for building the system as an option.
Oh, okay, great, perfect.
Okay.
We did go ahead. Okay.
And the gift economy is sharing resources without expectation of future rewards or returns. And so it's gift economy and philanthropy.
Okay.
That's more gift economy. The philanthropy is also, you're giving money to a company and not expecting anything back. So it goes right along with that. Okay, so is there anything else that we have in the way of funding models? I mean, we have many models, I know, especially if we look at this, but I don't think we need to write them all down. I think we're good. I think they're gonna naturally come to the surface when we need them. It's nice to tell people what we have, but I think at this point, like, we all have different funding models. We all have that, so it's pretty obvious.
does what I'm reading right here, does it include like community companies as well, for profit and producing income for the community, for this movement?
Community companies?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if what you mean by that is something that's kind of distributed ownership and owned by everything, yes, we do.
Right.
We have.
Yeah, because that's something we can start doing up at my property up in Burnett County, is we can actually start establishing an actual company for, what do we call this movement anyway that we're doing? Do we call it a community, or do we call it, what do we call it? Seems like what we're doing is laying the foundation for communities all over the world and the changing of current systems. So what do we call our movement? What is this?
I mean, it's partly, so if you take the governance and you take the funding model and you take the platforms and you take the buildings, you've sort of got yourself a business plan. You've also got yourself an organizational model.
So we're saying this organization, then this world movement. Do we want to put a title on it?
But it's really close.
So I know. Yeah.
The step one is the agreement governance structure, because that really lays out choices for everyone right off the bat. You get yourself a way to choose different paths, because we're doing it in this way that we're doing it. So it's not just focused on one thing. Right now, we're taking one path down it together that we're all in alignment with. But the truth is, anyone can add any separate path at any time and take those paths together as a team.
Okay.
We will have different shared resources and access agreements for different paths, but some of them might be for everyone, like open source material that we can all share in education. So there are platforms out there that we integrate pretty much right away with. I would say, if you said anything, it's probably it's probably a movement towards an earth in which our business and governance can work together in a way that's supportive of being human and human evolution.
Right. All right. Well, then that's something that I could get involved in right away to sort of create funding. Is I have resources. I have, equipment, tools, land. We just need some people to connect up, and then we can actually start creating some funding for this organization. So, yeah, that's what we're getting towards. And we even have, I think, once we get enough people in line and on here, we just haven't opened the gate yet. We're still getting this ready, but as soon as we're ready, I'm thinking a couple weeks. I've already invited in the Artesia people. I invited in the guy with the hydrogen technology. I'm inviting in some really large players, to be honest with you. I want to keep it small, but the people that I'm inviting in have a lot of sway, and I have a lot of big projects going on that we can all work together. The point is to get onto a cohesive platform. So no matter what they have, it's going to be working within the system, or they keep it outside of it and it just doesn't get put in here. Sure.
Because it might be, a lot of these things are already structured in a way that's not sharing with everyone. It's not open, just because of how it's structured. So it may not fit. Like the Artesia guys, for example, they have worldwide centers they've already got built in Thailand, and they're building one. They're sourcing land still in Costa Rica. They're building centers all over the world. And as we talk, I'm not going to expect them to reorganize every single piece of their thing, although they're wanting to reorganize in a top core team level. I think they're going to have to separate and leave some of the ownership model that they have existing on some of their areas and focus the new model on a new building site that we can co-create together. Because there's going to be people already involved in that company that are have already signed contracts. So it's kind of too late, and they're already having issues around it. So anyhow, what we want, hugs. I'm putting hugs there. I'm just going to take that out. I thought I did take that out. We need nonprofit umbrella. We need a few nonprofit umbrellas, really, actually.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I had a question. Okay. What is the vision for these organizations that are coming in and they want to integrate or partner and share in the co-creation process? What is the vision for the prioritization of projects to get funded? I mean, if you have all of these people coming in and maybe everybody's using different funding models, are they each using their own, developing and using their own model, or is it a adopted set of models for everyone?
I would say it's an adopted set of models. So everyone's going to be, if the funding comes in, for example, let's say that we invite a bunch of people in and they all get on teams and there's some of them are working on the funding and they're exactly on the same organizational level and they're exactly on the same intention for what they want. And we get that very clear. Like, this is super clear. This is actually what this is geared towards. This whole document is building a portal to the new paradigm. Okay. So there might be people that want to do something else besides that. They don't want to build the new earth out right now. They want to do something else, for example. Maybe they want to build just something outside of it for whatever reason. Even though this all can be built inside of this, everything should be able to be built inside of this. Retreat centers, everything should be able to be built inside of this.
Right. So
essentially, if funding came in, it would go towards everyone building this platform out. So if we're all already building it out and the funding comes in within this platform, that's where the funds would go first, to build this platform out. And then when people choose other options and other ways to do it, if the funding arm says, yes, we're in alignment with that, it could fund that too.
Is there plans for a body that eventually will decide that? Or who actually is making that decision? Us?
I think it's the whole, I think in this case, it's the whole group. If it's the whole group's in line with a plan and they're all putting in their momentum in there, they wouldn't, and if they don't need more funding, then yes, they might say, oh, well, let's let someone use this. The ultimate thing would be bring more people on board and expand to Thailand and to Brazil and to different places would be ultimately the best way to do it, so that we're a larger network, cohesive still, coherent. But if for some reason, whatever reason, people didn't want to onboard to this and they weren't really, they were all going to a different place, and we had extra funds, we would have to say, okay, because we have to get familiar with those other projects. So we have to, go in there. We would probably see who wants to support that, or, worst case, if we just had extra funds flowing everywhere, we would probably support someone else. If we don't have enough people in line with what we're doing, there's no reason to throw more funds in it, because then it's just feeding ourselves and making it just better and better and better for ourselves, which is great, but that's not kind of systemic change. That's just, once again, feeding a small bubble that creates more off balance. But I don't feel like that's going to happen. I think that a lot of people are going to be attracted to these to what we're building, and it's not going to have an end to the people coming in and creating centers and different things.
Okay. So as I'm building out the grant agency and the fundraising, the fundraiser, the Global Solutionary Fundraisers, there's specific things that I need for the grant agency to function properly. It has to go through the whole master planning process, obviously, the same, so I can sync it with exactly what we're doing here. I need the team members, number one. Well, I have an initial council. I don't know how many of those people will stay once I introduce what we're doing. There's also some technology things I need to make it function properly, like peer-to-peer contracts, and where can I get those resources? Do I get them through this people coming in, or do I go seek out now?
Yeah, what we need to do as soon as we have our open source sharing platform, I have those to share with you personally, and I would like to just post them for everyone to share. Almost everything I have almost everything is open source. There's a few things that aren't, that are going to be when you're on the organizational level that we can share. A lot of people in the pool right now are not through the organizational level. I think there's 2 or 3 people in it. And it's us and Nivedano, I believe. And there might be one other person.
Okay. So just wait then.
Well, you can wait, or I can send it to you and we can start. I'm just trying to think of where we need to post that. Once this team is formed of our tech people, tech platform integration, this is going to be our techies. These are the guys that know all the tech platforms. That's what they're doing. They're integrating everything to make one big thing to solve everyone's problems. So once this team is formed, they're going to tell us where, it could be, they might just say, hey, Google Docs, of course, why not? We can just create a folder right here. In fact, that's probably what I'll do for now. I'll go into here, into the, it would be universal, because this is something we're sharing universally. And once we get to organizational, we can have a folder of shared here, shared resources. And this would have access only to, this might have a special access only to people that are in this field, they're working with this organization. It would be shared resources. This is just, right now, this doesn't have a master plan. Actually, this is going to be not in here. Let me actually, let me actually make that clearer. This is just an organizational level agreements right here, organizational agreements. We need to create something which is probably going to be, truthfully, totally separate when we create a master plan. And right now, that master plan I'm creating for a Brazil project, and anyone can use this outline. And I'm actually revamping it to come in order of what people need to know and how the company starts. The company starts with alignment and intention. Then we're all going to look at our values, our agreement fields. We'll have a pool, how the pool works. So this is the pool of people that are waiting to help out, how you form groups, which is what we're going to do next. What our culture code looks like, decision iteration. So this is like before we have to actually solve a decision with decision resolution. How does the culture code work, and how do we create decisions day to day? Master planning process, decision resolution, group interactions, roles and goals. So how do groups interact between each other? Group growth and splitting. Next steps. So far that's what we have. And then I'm going to look through here and see what's already been in here. And we're going to create a master plan that has to do with Nivedano's land in Brazil. And if he's totally on board and he has the land to fund it, And of course, I'm on board, and I think we will hopefully, whoever's on board, it doesn't matter, whoever's on board will be on board. And we will all say, yes, I'm on board with that. Let's put our time and effort towards that. Now, we may create another master plan that we can't really do. It's really hard to focus on two things at once. If we pick up something this big and we already have the funding in place for it, we're probably going to spend a good 6 months to a year at least getting it built out, and then where it can run on its own. But you know, some people might want to spend half time on this and half time on something else, and that's fine. So there could be multiple master plans.
Well, I am creating, or I do want to create a master plan for the grant agency. And I have an outline for it. It's very similar to what you just showed me. I did it based on what we've already gone through and just, you know, what I already know about creating master business plans. I don't think I can show it to you. I think you're sharing the screen, but
do you want? Well,
it's up to you. It's very similar. I would like to be able to move forward with that.
Okay. Do you want me to take a look at it with you on another call?
Yeah, absolutely. We can. And my thought process was, because I already have a somewhat council, you being one of the people on it, and Brett as well. Eventually we'll all get spread too thin, and I would like to call in some more people that may want to help. But I figured I would at least outline the proposal for the master plan, and then when the council, I've been calling it a council, it can change, but when that's ready, then we can all go through the master plan together and make the changes. But I figured I would just do the initial outline. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, that sounds great. Did you have that outline did you have this thing to go off of or not?
No, I didn't. I can show you what I put together though. It's pretty similar. I did it based on, well, do you want me to show you?
Sure.
You want to wait a different call?
If you want to just review it versus go through it, sure. That's not a problem. I mean, are you okay with that, Steve? Are you okay with that, Steve?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm very open.
Yeah, and then if someone's watching it and they don't want to see this, they can just fast forward it. It's fine.
Hold on a second.
Do you want to share the doc on Google Docs?
Am I on there?
I said, yeah, do you want to share it on Google Docs? Then I could pull it up on my other screen.
Share the document. Oh, it's just an outline. Let me see. Let me actually pull it up first so I can see.
Sure.
What I did. Oh, here it is. I just did an outline. So just, this is for the whole organization, and then so it's who we are, the intention, vision, mission, purpose, the organizational structure, the values, and then then what we do. So I figured the actual business plan would be incorporated in that. The freelancers, the currencies, the funding models, because there's 2 funding models in the platform, and then the sub-master plan, how we work together. Governance, culture code groups. So, and then next steps. And this
Okay, so those are the different groups you have, the governance, okay. The governance, the culture, those are different groups that you'll have?
Well, I just listed that as the submaster plan, how we work together. So what I was thinking about doing is all of this here in the master plan, I was going to write it all out, but it's actually for the whole council it's a proposal for the master plan. So then the council goes through it together, makes any changes through the process of change making, and then the submaster plan is actually created with, they put an anchor circle because I liked how Brett worded that, but it's I'm calling it also the council. The submaster plan would be created by the council, or I can do the same thing again, write it all out. I mean, I'm the one getting the blueprints for this, so I just want to get it out there on paper, and then the council can decide, make the final decisions.
Cool. Yeah, great. Yeah. And I can send you the outline just so you can have, that outline was designed for people to make master plans from, just so you have it, so you could kind of see what sectors that are there and how they're worded. And I didn't add it to our stuff right now at this point because it's just too much information right now. I wanted to keep what we have streamlined. We're almost there. It's about to be shared. I'm going to write up the first proposal, and then the outline is very easy from there. You just take the titles of that proposal, and that's basically the outline.
Okay. If you want to use a uniformed, I usually just do it what makes sense to me, what's coming through me when the time, but if there is a uniform way that we can use, I think it's going to make, in the long run, everybody's life a lot easier when every time they're looking at a master plan, it's basically the same structures. Maybe a tweak here and there.
That's right. Exactly.
So
that's the outline. That's why this is an outline, and it's the one that So I've had it. I just haven't shared it because I didn't feel like, but I'm going to share it with you. And I have some documents to share for some actual contracts to share with you too, Tiana. But this is the call here. We're building it out right now. So this is, once we're done here, we'll be there. So we're almost there. Okay. So I'm going to share screen again, and we'll jump back to what we're creating. And let's, is everyone complete on just any clarity that we need on how the funding works and how it links in before we get to before we continue? Is there any other questions, I guess?
No.
And you're clear right now for now, Tiana?
yes.
Okay. So what we want that someone else has right now, we want a church or a nonprofit umbrella onboarded. So we need that for our nonprofit arm. A funding team that is solely concentrated on this and competent and clear on the joint mission. So these are the two things I possibly
have a guy who's a church, and we might be able to get him on board. I'll check it out.
Great. Yeah, we've got a few options. We just want to go through our options and find the most in line and the person that's got time and is willing to it's not just that they're in line, but they also have time. So I call an early adopter someone that's not only in line, but they have time because they're going to, jump on the board and they got something to pitch in and they're in line. Is there anything else that we want when it comes to funding? I mean, I think everything we have, as I see it, everything we have when it comes to landowners is in process and ready to fund. There's nothing in our way, zero. We just need to continue where we're going, get our cohesion, create a master plan, and share that with the different landowners and see if they're on board. It's just a process that we have to go through. Yeah, Tiana?
I think maybe, I don't know if this is the place, but I would foresee that we would want a bank and also crypto vaults.
Yes, you're so right. Okay, we do want that. And that came up with my conversation with Artesia, and we're actually looking at buying a bank with our with a couple people, including Mike Upstone and the guy I'm working with on the escrow company. I found one out of Latvia for 1 million. I was quoted 5 million before, and then 3 million from Mike, and I found one for 1. So a bank and crypto vault on board. Anything else? Okay, let's look at the different arms here before we go forward. Membership contributionism. Okay, that's something we need. We need the membership model. We need membership team. And at least one expert. I'm not an expert there, by the way. So membership model, philanthropy, those are those two. Those are the two that we're really starting with. There's nothing else really, but the social impact loans investments, these always to be anywhere near worth putting our time into, they need to either have pre-sales or something backing it. In this case, we have land that's willing to back it. And so that's where I would put any of that focus and where I am putting that focus. So unless someone comes up with something that's more ready than what we have currently, that's our only one that I'm willing to focus on, is something with a down payment, basically. ICO, this was created by Brett, Infinite Co-Creative Onboarding. Holochain can be both ERC tokens and Holochain currencies. Holo did both in effect. Also, more traditional ICOs are possible. Initial community offering and Holo of what culture is looking at. I don't know what he means here, so I can't speak for him, and I can't say what we need to make that happen. Maybe he can add that in, what we need to make that happen. And if that's a valid thing to look at, if it's going to be easy. Crowdsourcing, what we need there is, once again, it's the same thing. We need some money, with about 30,000 to 60,000, probably 60 to make it smooth, to make that thing go forward. We need someone backing us for $60,000, and we can do our crowdsourcing campaign. Sponsorship, we're ready for that. So do we want to say we need, do you want people to help get sponsorship money, Tiana? Sponsorship team?
We can, if we are going to move forward. I guess, I don't know if I should talk about with the team or just you. If we're going to move forward with GSF, becoming a funding project specifically for, at least under the universal agreement field, and then maybe specifically for Green Earth Vision, or for potential alliance, or both, to service, the grant agency and Global Solutionary Fundraise to service these this organization or these organizations. And if we decide that, or if the team decides that that's what we want to do, then I can move forward. And yes, we would be very ready, based on the event being planned in Austin, to get sponsorship. Absolutely. Okay. But those first things some agreements need to be made, and some, I don't know, maybe team collaboration of what it looks like.
Okay, so what we want to have that, though, right? We want to have, what do you want there? You want to get an answer of who's on board?
Well, yeah, I want to know. My thoughts Okay, so let me just kind of go through the process. The Utopian New Earth Grant Services, yes, absolutely. New Earth organization all the way. We can put here and specifically use it to service Full Potential Alliance and Green Earth Vision projects, or just Green Earth Vision. I don't know that decision. I'm either or, depending on what that looks like. And the Global Solutionary Fundraisers initially was kind of an interface with the Matrix, but I'm kind of ready to just flip it all the way under New Earth org. And if we do that, if it's decided that we can do that, if
it would be, if we do that, it would be one group or team that's within the church model, or the whatever model this takes on. If it takes on a church model, or if it takes on an umbrellaed organization, or if it takes on multiple models, this is where it depends on where our funding comes in. I mean, if we get funded through this landowner, we might have a different structure, and then we might have to connect the fundraising arm in a little differently. So once we're ready with our agreement fields and we're ready to take money in, which, as we talked about last call, we're almost there. We're ready. We just want to have a little more coherency, and we want to get our teams going. We're almost there. And then we can bring money in and feed everyone that's already in place and ready and already kind of doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm just, where I'm at with Global Solutionary Fundraisers. So I've, created this team that some of the people are in alignment with what we're doing, some are not. And I'm at that place where I need to, I really can't move forward right now until some decisions are made around it.
Yeah, they need to, decide what they're going to be doing here.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else so what we want, I'm going to add in here, even though it's funding, to get funding, we're going to need to figure out, I don't think a church works for everything. I think, here's the thing. I think a membership model is traditionally mixed in with like a good old boy network club. Okay. You're a member of a club. And if we create the whole damn thing under a membership model, you know what I mean? Like, that to me is the ultimate thing, because it's not an LLC. It's not there's no regulation at all under it. It's a way that we can all work together. We should be able to pay people working on the membership model. And if we don't, we'll give them benefits, in lieu, and a free membership that gives them whatever, housing, food, you know what I'm saying? So until we get to the point where we're making such amount of a profit that we're able to give bonuses. So what we need to figure out is how that looks. So really, I want to have a small talk. What we want is a solid organizational model that fits all of our funding needs and projects. And it may not be possible. We may have to have, something for real estate and something for grants, and we may have to have it separate. But the membership model might be everything. Let's look into it. I need to talk to some experts there. Okay, we are working towards. Does anyone have anything else for what we want? No.
Looks good.
Okay.
A raise.
A raise. A raise for Tiana.
Funding.
A raise for Tiana.
How about, let's put on the list funding. I really like funding.
Funds to play with. Funding. Okay, let's do it. All right. We're working towards. We are working towards. Here's what I put: pre-sales. Okay, this is a way to fund us. This is about funding, right? It's just about funding. Working towards pre-sales, matching for early adopters and funders. So we want to match them. This is Tribe Match. Once we get our funders and we have people that are onboarded saying what they're dedicated to through Tribe Match, and they say, I've got 500,000 I want to put towards this stuff. That's a pre-sale, or that's an early adopter. One of the two. It's one of the two. Solidifying agreements with landowners. So that's happening. We're working towards a repeatable funding model that works to bring currency to the whole body as needed, much like a circulatory system. This is, Tiana, what we're working on with you. We're working towards a repeatable funding model. This also has to do with membership models. Agreements with landowners, matching the early adopters and funders together, and we're working on pre-sales. What else?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Sorry if this is off the topic.
Okay.
It's just a general question about this guy, what your perception or what you're seeing out there in regard to, because you're talking about Tribe Match, and in regard to there actually being people that are waiting and ready for us. Do you feel that that is typical and that will continue to occur or not? Like your guy in Brazil, who's just like been waiting 30 years for us to show up. Are there multiple landowners and people that are ready to give money here?
Yes.
Need the system to give it to?
Totally. 100%.
Okay.
I've got a list of 70 people. I haven't launched Green Earth Vision yet. I've got a list of 70 plus people that have already gone in through Tribe Match, and I've got people saying, let's do something. I got this company. Here it is. And there's all kinds of other people ready to join up. We just need to pull them into our funnel through Tribe Match and through our agreement fields. And then I think from there we're good. Like, we're almost going to bring these people in that could make the difference, each one of them.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. We just need to we can't shove them into a room before the room is ready to, with people in it going, all right, here's, that know what they're doing. Otherwise they're going to show up in a room and everyone's go, oh, I don't know what we're doing. What are we doing? And they're going to leave the room and not come back.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. So, next step. Okay. So then, is there anything else that you guys consider that we're working towards here that would help with funding? And I put in there, Tiana, a repeatable model. So that was pretty over encompassing. Mm-hmm. Is that what you would say you're working towards? A repeatable funding model that works to bring currency to the whole body as needed?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
I believe one of the important points in setting up the fundraising will be training of the fundraisers. They're going to need some sales training. They're going to need to be able to deal with people and be able to give, and know how to deal with the various opposition they're going to run up against as far as getting funding. So I've done phone sales. I've done all the different types of sales, and I'm also currently getting some sales training. So I've really realized, and I've also been selling for 30 years. So I know that these are going to be big buttons that people are going to run into. We can lose a lot of salespeople when they start having losses on the sales lines, on the funding lines. So,
yeah, these are very things we will need very, very soon. Training program for fundraising, I'm gonna call it, because it's not just sales.
Not really fundraising. Yeah, it's fundraising, but there's sales knowledge that's going to be needed in dealing with people.
Okay, sales and marketing. Tiana?
Can I just comment on that? The way that I envision it, the way that I see it, is that, and this is how I've envisioned it for the grant agency as well, and the freelancers and the independent companies, they're already trained. It's really just a matter of hooking in with people that are already doing these things, already experts at these things, rather than taking somebody that just says, like me, like I did 6 months ago, I want to do fundraising. And yes, we can have those people and have a training, but the ideal situation would be to bring in the experts initially to independent contract in alignment with what we're doing. Does that make sense?
And so I think it's both. I think that sometimes we're going to match through Tribe Match and through our program people that are able and ready, and we just need to. We're still going to need to like gain coherence and go. Okay, here's our marketing platform. Here's so that they're not marketing or selling, out of alignment with everyone else with the DNA that we're forming, which is what we talked about last week. It's like that having that process between groups, that communication that allows us to make sure that we are continuing to recycle our DNA, and any information that we find out, we come back and we share it, so that we're constantly coming back to share that information to the heart.
Mm-hmm. Is that your expertise, Stephen? Is the educational side?
Well, I have a lot of knowledge that I've collected over the years, but I've been running businesses for over 30 years. I started my first business when I was about 13 years old. So that is an area, and anything related to that is things that I've worked on steadily, like not just in the construction and contracting fields, which has been the main production line, but I've dealt with people, administrations, management, finance, you name it. I've dealt with law. I mean, half of my my contractor training was legal, how to set up contracts, what to watch out for, how to deal with, the various situations you can arise. So I have a lot. It's very it's generalized, but it's dealing with business, contracting, in those areas. And I found that I had to do a lot of training with people. I actually trained my son into selling, and over about a 3-year period, he sold over $1 million in roofing work. So I definitely know how to sell. I know how to train people. I know how to get products, and I've dealt with I've called in phone rooms where you just sit there and just call people, cold calling, and I know what people can run into, and I've learned a lot of the right ways to do it and wrong ways to do it. So, yeah.
Cool. Thank you for sharing.
So, yeah, if there's anything you want to find out from me, just email me, text me, whatever you want to do. I'm very open.
Cool. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Okay, I'm just shooting it out to Brett in case you want to. I forgot to invite him. I just was with my daughter. I just kind of been busy. Okay, I invited him if he wants to show up last minute. I did want to ask him about that initial offering thing that he was sharing. Okay. All right, so working towards, I put a solid training program and marketing and fundraising. I believe that's all covered in our organizational structure, and it runs across the board, Steve. So I put it there anyway, just so it's known that we need it, but it is covered. That will be covered. That will be covered by when we get everyone into these groups. One of those groups is going to be master planning. One's going to be these 4 groups, or these 5 groups that we have here are going to be part of it. And see, education training right there. That's one of our groups. So that's going to cover all the training for everyone. So that's where that actually goes, to be honest with you. So I'm going to put it there. Because that's what we're going to need. That's what we're working towards when it comes to the training. Okay, so here we go. Now, next steps, then we're almost done. Finishing the master, or were you complete on what we're working towards, Steve? I know that.
Yeah, I think this is all good. I'm totally in alignment here. So. Okay.
So next steps, this is funding. So this is definitely something that, Tiana, you're going to have something to add in here that I don't see, I believe. So the first one, finish the master plan so we can turn it into multiple areas. For me, I see that as the most powerful, having a solid master plan that we can say, look, here's what we're doing, and here's what we're asking for money. So I see that as the most critical next step, and I think I can do that pretty much right away. I've just been with my daughter this week. After that, implementing the membership model. I believe that can get us ramped up right away. If we were able to implement that right away, and that could possibly be the key answer to our organizational structure and bringing people on board.
I could probably help out on the membership model. I've dealt with a lot of different membership models in the past, and I've been part of a lot of fundraising where I personally ended up donating, well over $35,000 towards these projects. So I know that I know a lot of the different membership models that were used and what was successful. So I could probably help on that.
Great. Continue to search for nonprofit money, funds.
That's actually a space that I can contribute to, as long as we have a fiscal, then I can write grants for whatever we want, really. I am and seek out funders. I have a grant out, a proposal out right now for global solutionary fundraisers. I can do it really for whatever's necessary for us right in this moment as a service, because I do or experience points or whatever.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. We're getting ready.
Something else would be nice besides free.
Yeah, no, as soon as this is done, we're going to start paying ourselves, but we just need to this is part of the actual work here. So, we can look back and see who was on what calls if we really want. But once we actually get solidified that we're actually in an organization working together and we've gone through the organizational agreements, and when we know, that's when it's like that, then you start paying, because the rest is like, just to be honest with you, it's like, we wouldn't want to pay someone coming in learning. And we're kind of just figuring our stuff out right now. So for turn plan into the funders, which is, master plan, nonprofit plans, membership model plans, all one big cohesive thing. 5, crowdfunding program that talks to philanthropists as well as resources. That's that campaign. So I would want to focus on funds coming from these other areas before I did that. Even that one's a big thing. I'm still even thinking in my mind when to do that, because it is such a big thing that it's going to take a lot of organization and a lot. So depending on how successful our organization goes, if this declaration gets us and Tribe Match and all of our marketing gets us tons of people ready to move forward, and our solution platform and all this stuff, then we would run that right away, because it gives something for everyone to do. Lands worldwide and projects worldwide. 6, development of a fully solid funding model that funds the most important next steps. And does it in a coherent fashion, not giving power and balance to a few who are in control of any certain company. So this is what me and you have been working on, Tiana. We are talking about bringing funds in first, because we're just funneling them into the core right now. But once we get beyond the core, we're going to need a model that is able to work. It's not fully vetted right now. It's not fully developed. Does anyone want to add anything in there, anywhere? At this point, it's pretty open.
I think it's pretty covering everything that I can see at this point.
Tiana?
I feel that I feel it's good. I don't feel like.
Okay. And we can always come back. This is the thing. These documents aren't universal agreements. They're not solid for the next 6 months. They're not the same. This is a next steps that we all build together. And so how this looks is anyone at any time can add to it as long as it's the next steps is a little different than what we're working. You know, this is something we want to do on a call, so we could schedule a call to revamp things. But soon this is going to be a group. It's going to be a group called the funding group or whatever, right? I don't know, like funding or whatever it's called, the money group or something. And then there's a governance and agreements group. So these are going to be our first groups, and they're going to eventually split too once we, you know, get people into into more groups or have groups that are added on to them, and relieve some of their roles. Right now are going to be all encompassing of the whole funding thing. They're holding the whole ball, and then they're going to pass out, you know, grants to, you know, different pieces out of their roles. So this will be in development constantly, but it won't be looked at by everyone. The next time it'll just be looked at by the funders after this process. I mean, there's still a couple weeks for everyone to look at this video, come back, look at the document, give their input. If they don't do it, they don't do it. We're not going to wait. Okay. So what could get in the way? What is a possible roadblock or something you are waiting on? I'm just going to say we are waiting on. We need our organizational structure, master plan, team building process complete, or the money is not able to be used in the right manner. We need this organizational structure to make sure no one can take advantage of the mission for their own personal agenda. We need to make sure no one can take the ideas and run with the ball. This is done through the agreement field and access agreements. Okay, it looks like I stopped there, but what I'm saying here is we need the process complete, obviously. So this is all what could get in the way right now or what we're waiting on. This is something we're waiting on, which is I have to do the master plan. Organizational structure, we're learning. We're just kind of going through it. We're not really waiting on it. We're doing it right now. Team building process complete. That is something that I feel we're going to create in the next little bit. As soon as we get our different sectors down, we're going to basically start forming teams and figure out how that looks. We're going to actually implement what we've already planned. So I think that'll be fun. So that's going to happen real soon. That's all happening. We need the organizational structure to make sure no one can take advantage. I believe it's already there. So I don't really feel like we're waiting on any of this now that I look at it again. Do you think there's any roadblocks or anything that could get in the way of the funding models being successful?
Absolutely, I do. Yeah, what's coming forth for me is human greed. This greed. Money is a very you know, it's an energy of its own that can create a consciousness of its own. And as we are working and stepping into these places, I really believe we need to be extremely conscious of what can and will come forth as a result of receiving money through these portals. And yes, the portals have to be pure and clean in order for the money to even flow through, but the money can flow through and also create a wave of energy and effect, a cause and effect for the human energy field to cleanse as well. If there is residual consciousness or residual conditioning about money, and it's so deep, for the world today, that it's really going to take, even as we're all moving, because we're moving from this place of receiving a great amount of money to then transitioning into a gift economy. I mean, ultimately, the ultimate goal of that would be to transition into a gift economy where that currency isn't even necessary anymore. So,
what I see that will address some of those points you mentioned is, one, clear-cut policy on how we deal with the finances, and then two, a very transparent system where nothing can be done outside of it. It's got to be clear-cut on the policies and on the agreements so that there's no gray areas where people can just do something else. And also it has to be transparent so that, again, nothing can be done hiddenly and secretively. I think if it's transparent, clear-cut policies, and well laid out agreements, we can keep the system running pure. And then, you know, usually a person starts screaming and hollering about wanting some special thing that nobody else is in agreement with. That's usually a sign of that guy might not be in our best interest, you know, and there needs to be a way to sort of on a nice front sort of shift them away from that area, you know?
Yeah. So. I hear you, Steve, very much so. But what I'm receiving is that because of this, the money system and the way it's been built and all of our conditioning around that, we have to be specifically aware that shit is going to hit it will come up. It's going to rise up, and in our conscious awareness of even building these systems, if we plan ahead of how are we going to address that as it comes up, that needs to be a focus for sure. I feel this is what I'm receiving now.
Yeah, exactly. No, I totally understand. You're absolutely right.
And so it's about an awareness that when this wave comes through the portals, what happens on an energetic level is when a higher vibrational wave comes through, anything that's old and needs to be released will come to the surface. And that comes out in a whole bunch of lots of pretty ways that people behave, react, do, including like a little bit of temporary insanity. And it has to come out and up and out to purify itself and cleanse itself. And in those I guess what it is coming through is however evolved that we think that we are, or we'd like to believe that we are, none of us have gone through this phase of what we need to go through. And that there needs to be a conscious awareness of what will happen in our being as a result of receiving large sums of money coming through these portals, which has not occurred yet. That's it. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
No, that makes sense. I totally agree with you. I've been
in the training part.
yeah. No. I've been through that myself. I understand. I've been on the end when all of a sudden I received lots of money and I just went totally crazy with it. And
hey, at least you admit it.
Yeah, I know I've been there, and then it's almost like a learning process. You hit the times where you don't have any money, and then you have to really squeeze. And then after you've been fluctuating a few times, you start to get real smart on, okay, how do we do this correctly? Money's got to be set aside, bills have to be paid, certain responsibilities and obligations have to be kept. It's something that governments don't seem to have learned yet. So They just take the money. They just print more money up whenever they need. They say, well, how can we take it from here and put it over here? Give an example. You can just learn this. We have a system of taxing in this country that is insane. It's set up in such a way that people can do whatever they want. If they make a lot of money, now they can get more tax breaks. And if you don't know anything, well, then you're going to pay more taxes. And it's really crazy because what they do then is when they get the money, there's no set policy on what the money goes towards. So now they can all just sit down and go, well, how do we want to spend this money behind closed doors with nobody knowing what we're going to do with their money? And that's why I said we have to have transparency. We have to have clear policy. Like, give an example. If we just made one policy that says, 10% of the money goes towards whatever, housing or to the people or whatever. And then we say, okay, we need more money. Well, the solution is not to say, well, let's take 15% now. The solution is we get more money coming in, so the 10% becomes higher. It's just a simple, solution on that, so it doesn't go crazy. So, yeah.
Can you put up here, because this is saying what would get in the way is the human behavior and conditioning around money and what will happen. So not to put a negative into the field, but just to put an awareness that it's not just the system that we're setting in place. We can create an incorruptible system to transfer money, to deal with money, and that's what we're aiming for. But the human behavior, the human conditioning and the human behaviors around money have yet to be reversed on this planet.
Yeah, it's a big one. We can try to encompass that with a structure and all this stuff, but there's an energetic part of it. And I think that's where you guys are both speaking a little differently. And it's kind of where we need to align our intentions, of course. And we do need to think of the energetic side and the structural side to prevent, we want to align with our intentions so that we're preventing people from actually doing 99% of the things that are going to disrupt the system. But then there's even first of all, there's the 1 or 2% that we don't see that we have to deal with in the future. So there's a process that we have to, a feedback loop that we're going to have to be able to, when we see, oh, wow, we didn't see that little leak. There's a leak. It's like a container, right? There's a leak going out. And then we can be able to, fix that and create a structure that since we're building our structure, since we're a living structure, we can actually create a little, patch on that, which normal system structures, they don't change. The structure doesn't change. So if there's a leak, there's a leak. So that's good on that. Energetically, some processes. I do know that, like I said, we can tie our currency to the universal agreement field, and even have around that, we can start to create what that currency looks like together as a whole based on our intentions. And I believe that that's going to allow us to only buy products. Right now it's set up for rent, food. Those are obvious things that we're going to want. But it's not, oh, I have $100,000 a month bill because I live in a New York penthouse and I need to feed, the whole neighborhood or whatever, right? So, having very clear understanding, and this is what I was talking about with Artesia just last night, the same thing. They're like, well, money came in and everyone went nuts. Their first chunk of money came in where it was distributable, right? And so he said, people's true colors came out, and now there's disruption in the field.
Oh, Good. So yay. I'm glad that was just confirmed. I mean, no, obviously. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Big
So
out and up and out.
I think we can handle that structurally. I think we can create our own currency, start to give each other that currency, build it up. When the money comes in, the first thing that people get to do is turn in a percent of their currency to get the money that came in can go as a dividend. It's a dividend, just like they got some money as dividends. But in their case, they hadn't worked that out. I'm assuming. I'm going to talk to them. I'm assuming otherwise, people would know exactly what they've built up and what they're getting there. Mm-hmm. And what it can be used for, even beyond that. Mm-hmm. So, but in our case, hopefully we can wrangle a lot of that in with just clear agreements up front. Energetically, there might still be somebody offering within the team someone else money to do a specific agenda that might be against the whole system or the whole wave, or, hey, I got a company over here, you're going to make a lot of money with me. Which is a real easy thing to happen. Of course, that can happen all day long in 90 different ways for everyone in their individual lives. Until we're making so much money that everyone's like, why would I take these other offers? Or I've got everything I need right here. This is I've got true wealth. But until that point, we are going to have to deal with that. Do you have any suggestions for that, Tiana?
For which one?
Just dealing with the energetics of money. The only thing I can think is having conversations about it and sort of.
Well, I think the forefronting of a well thought out plan and taking that in, like you said, for one, the Artesia, is that how you pronounce it? Yep. They didn't have their distribution structure set up. So that's number one. If we have that well thought out, and then also well thought out about what will happen when the money does come in and how people will react and what comes up and what they're willing to do as a result. Because if there's an awareness that this is what we're moving into and that things will arise, I don't know that something might not arise in me. Who knows if I get in here and, because, my constant question to source is, why is this my mission? I don't even like money, but then I need to like money and I need to love money, and in order to attract money as a fundraiser, it's craziness. So who knows what would come out of my being if I received a large amount of money. Maybe I would discover that I am greedy. I don't know. And I'm not going to pretend that I do know. I know my heart is pure. I know my intentions are pure, and I think that that's pure. But I'm not going to put it. I've seen a lot of stuff that I wouldn't. So to have an awareness that we may behave in weird ways, or maybe in not ways, and then be able to have the compassion and the healing tools and whatever it is set in place that we need to address it. Because I think we're all at a space, evolutionary wise, if we're in this space, that's not what we're intending or the direction that we really want to go in. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in this space.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things too that can help avoid some of this stuff as part of the structural is really, I think you've handled a lot of it, Josh, with the whole concept of the agreements, where people can do things on one side and then do things on another. So if a person needs to make money, then they shouldn't be tied in too tightly with the group on a determination of needing money. If they need money, they should already have some other sources worked out, because then it can create that tempting that you're talking about, Tiana. It's like I deal with a lot of people, and everybody's got different amounts of money. They all got their money. When we do a project together, nobody's worried about it because everybody's got their own money. And we're not doing it for the purpose of making money. Even if we make money off the project, it's not really like that's the main process. You know, that's not the main focus. Just like we're doing this right now. My whole focus is we're building a new society. We're building the groundwork. You know, I mean, great. If there's some great reward in it, great. That's nice, but that's like a secondary. It's not an overpowering factor. You know, I see a lot of people get greedy, and you see it in governments too, where they use people's need of money to control them. You know, you see the federal government do it with the states. They say, oh, if you want this money, which we know you need, you got to sign under these agreements with us. You see, and and people are like, but I need to pay my bills, so okay, let's do it. You know, so if we keep those type factors out of it, we don't allow money to be used as a control mechanism. If somebody comes along and says, hey, John, I've got some money over here. You want to go work on my project? They'd be doing us a favor if the guy accepts it, because obviously his intention wasn't pure. So great, let him go work over there. You know, we don't want it, you know, muddling up what we're doing. You know, so keep it wide open. You know, just like let it be known that, you know, okay, yeah, you want to go work for him, go ahead. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
Where both people are at. We see the one guy who's sitting there taking people from us, and we see the other people that are just going off and doing something else. And we sort of go, oh, okay, we can utilize that to our benefit now. We send John in to make sure they're qualified, you know, and if they're not qualified, you know, whatever. And at some point we can filter those people out, you know, on a larger scale when we've gotten a little bit bigger.
And this is something I was thinking of many years ago when I was developing Green Earth City and thinking about, well, what happens when, you know, if we do have competition, for example, you know, how do we structure our businesses within a cityscape as a whole together? Because, you know, what stops an oil company from coming in and going, okay, I'm going to buy up this place, this piece of property, and I'm going to do whatever I want, and I'm going to hire everyone to do what I want them to do, because I'm offering them more money, and they come right in the middle of the city, because guess what? They don't want, for no other reasons than just to disturb what you're doing. Even if it's the best city ever and it's awesome and amazing, if you leave that opportunity, let's call it the darkness or whatever, you know, the people that are, you know, with these old paradigm systems are going to come try to reestablish themselves. The old paradigm is clawing and fighting, and it always works like this to stay alive. And it's just, evolution's not going to let it happen, but it's still going to claw and fight to stay alive.
Right.
I think, yeah, I hear you, Josh. I feel that if it's more about the consciousness shift, and once people have the consciousness and the awareness of what they can have, what's available to them, that those kind of issues won't be as prevalent. I mean, they can still be an issue, but at this juncture in our history, if we don't make some changes really soon, we're going to see some pretty devastating effects upon the earth. And when those become visible, those become I mean, not that they're not already visible, but the filters and the denial that is in the human race right now is quite deep. I mean, we've got an American president that doesn't pay taxes, and people just seem to ignore it. And that's everywhere. That's for all of the problems on the earth. So unfortunately, as we go through this time, and what is happening to the earth is, you know, we're at a really critical time span in history. So these that we have that can be hidden to the eye will not be able to, and it will be affecting all of us. So people will actually have to make a choice and a change, or we either rise up as a human race, or we potentially start going into extinction.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't have to see that, but
I see it for now as a big regrouping process, and I think it's going to get very polarized. I think it's going to, once we get momentum and we get these centers going, and it's a worldwide movement, and half the people are in this whole new paradigm, and half the people are still in the old one. It's not going to be I don't see it as a war. I just see it as, it's kind of like, I kind of see it as a going back to nature. It's like the colonization of the world created these different avenues for people to go on these blocks, city blocks with houses in their, city in the streets and the mailboxes and so you're stuck inside and you don't see the degradation to the world. It's all pushed out somewhere else. And so, it's all nicely cleaned up and taken somewhere else and buried. And so now it's almost like we're doing the reverse. We're going back to nature. And so we're going to be in these environments that are connected with nature. It's going to be a part of it. I mean, that just is. And we're going to be living in harmony with it. And so I think those energies that decide to go back out are going to really feel it when they leave the new paradigm and go back to the old. They're going to really, really feel the difference energetically and in a lot of ways. And they just get to decide if that's worth it for them. Money's the tool for the ego. Like you said, to trust yourself when you get a bunch of it, the only thing that it's going to feed is the ego. When someone takes that offer, that money from that oil company or whatever, or to just buy their own house and, defect and do their own thing. It's just to feed the ego,
And maybe that's the solution right there, is what you're touching on, is the training and education, or the availability of training and education on how to shift consciousness on the way that we think about money, the way that we interact with money, our beliefs around money, having those trainings, and they're out there. I know that they are already, those things do already exist. But to have those available to us and to the people that are coming through the portals, I think is really important, because I think we all need to be still upgraded on the way that we look and feel about money and what it's used for. And, we can be in a consciousness of really looking at this money as a currency, as energy, as a part of God, as a part of sacred, that it's sacred. I wanted to create a currency called reverence, that we revere the energy of the currency, and how it's actually becomes a part of us. Maybe that's something that can be looked at as a future development in the training programs.
Can we use that in our group? Can we use that word for one of our currencies that we build?
Sure, I love it personally.
Cool. That's great. I love it. Reverence. And that could possibly be the name of the level 3 currency, because it's really all about the energy. It's like you're in a space and it's like, here's the agreement field. You don't save it. It's just reverence.
Yay. I like it.
All right. So I think that we've got some stuff to do there. We've got to really work on this. What could get in the way? Like, there's a lot here. So That's good though, because this is going to be a discussion for everyone. We're going to have to start to really like look at this. It's right now. It's a brain dump. It's a brain dump. So we need to clean that up. But I think we're at our hour and a half. Tech platform's not going to be. We're going to need to have the right people in there. But I would say that there's physical buildings and headquarters, and then there's education and training. I would jump into this with you guys right now, but I think that I told my daughter, she's out swimming, and I kind of missed it for this, so I'm going to go call them and go jump in and get going with that. Just I think that we've downloaded a lot, and we can meet more times a week, so we can come up with this next one. This week I am with my daughter, so Wednesday maybe we'll just go continue Wednesday. I think we're already at what, Friday?
Sounds good. Yeah, I think this was very very valuable information. I loved what you had to say, Tiana. I loved what you have to say always, Josh. And I think this is really good. I'm glad that we've all connected and we're all working together. So.
You too, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
For sure.
Same.
Thanks for stepping up and being present.
All right. So we'll see each other on Wednesday then? Is that the plan?
Yeah. I mean, there's a possibility of doing one on Monday.
I'm open for it. Just let me know and I'll let you know what I can do. So.
Yeah. Okay. Let's think about possibly doing one Monday. We could go over the training. The training. Look, we get to co-create the whole damn thing because it's totally blank right now. So this will be a whole different experience because we're going to completely co-create that one. And I've already got some ideas on physical buildings and headquarters. So.
Good.
All right, guys.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
All right.
See you guys later.
Just let me know. I'm pretty flexible. Huh?
No, go ahead.
What?
You're pretty flexible about what?
Oh, I was just saying I'm pretty flexible on the meetings. Just I'll chime in to the chat.
All right.
Okay. Bye, guys.
You guys.
All right. Have a great day.
Okay.
Aloha.
You too.